This is Kyrie Unreal, speaking to you from the sanctuary of the Northville United Presbyterian Church on Tuesday midday, 2 days after we began Advent. So we just had our first Sunday in Advent here in this sanctuary. And for this Advent, as we are preparing our homes and our decorations and our shopping lists and all of those other things for Christmas, I challenged you, the congregation, to prepare your hearts as well for the coming of this Christ child, to become more like a child and ready to befriend this little boy that's coming into the world. And in our childlikeness, to open ourselves up to vulnerability and to relationship and to possibility and hope, the way that a young child coming among us opens us up to the possibilities of his life and the wonder at thinking what he's going to see with his eyes or do with his tiny hands someday. You have that same hope and that same potential. In God's eyes, you are God's child. And I encouraged you to take some time during this week and to begin with discernment and in prayer. Prayer is a very difficult thing for us to work into our lives because there are so many other things happening. And it reminds me of that wonderful story of Mary and Martha. Everybody either loves or hates that story because they want to be Mary, and at the same time, we all know we have a little bit of the Martha inside of us. What do you do about the Martha who's out there getting things done and who is taking care of business while Mary sits and listens at Jesus' feet? Instead of thinking about those two characters as though they oppose one another, as though Mary never does any work, or as though Martha is simply doing what everybody else leaves for her to do, instead of pitting them against one another, see them as parts of your own life. And here's how I look at it. When Jesus comes into their home and he offers his words and his teaching, Mary stops and listens first. There is always going to be plenty of work to do with our lives. There are always going to be plenty of responsibilities and things that we need to take care of, lots and lots of jobs to be done. And most of us as healthy, strong people think that we want to accomplish as many of those things as we possibly can. Good Protestant work ethic that we have. What Mary teaches us, and what Jesus praises, is that we refuse to miss God's message by our busyness and by our distraction. We refuse to miss one word or one hope that God has for us. There's this tendency we can have in our lives to jump right into the fray and get things done. But if we get them done without realizing why we're doing them, or what their meaning is, or why they're important, then we lose ourselves. The choice is not between being Mary or being Martha. The question is, which do we do first? What Jesus recommends, what I want to encourage of us this week, is that prayer comes first. There will be plenty of time for busyness later, but don't allow yourselves, don't permit any part of your spirit to be left behind or to miss God's word. That's what makes the work beautiful. Be well, pray often, and do it all with love. This is Pastor Kyrie, wishing you a beautiful day in God's light, and happy Advent.